everyone, my name is Somya Silajitya Mishra. I am here for a entrepreneur interview for my course Entrepreneurship for Engineer, and for our interview we have entrepreneur Kai Hubner from GLEECHI. Hi Kai. Hi. So before going on with our video, with our interview, I want to ask you about GLEECHI, your company GLEECHI.
Yeah.
So just can you tell us what is GLEECHI and what are you doing at GLEECHI?
So GLEECHI was founded 1 year ago, but the project we had much earlier was called Virtual Grasp. And what we are doing is actually to automate hand animation. It might sound a bit nichey, but when you think about, for example, why Homer or Mickey Mouse have only 4 fingers or 3 fingers, you understand that animation of hands, is it in movies or in games, computer games, but especially now in virtual reality, is a difficult problem. And we solve this for the animators. And I guess you will come to that also later, but we have a background in robotics, so we actually taught robots how to interact with different things, and that's also where the technology comes from. So we are applying research technology on another field, which is gaming and animation.
So it's like gaming and animation, like cartoon animations and the anime that we watch in the TV?
Yeah, we could do that, for example, too. I mean, 2 obvious applications are, one is for movies like Avatar, for example. I mean, you have all these nice lights, graphics, and even facial animation, but when you look closely, you see that these avatars, they don't interact with things. Because it's difficult to animate all these degrees of freedom that we and also the avatars have in their hands. So that's the one thing for animation when it's like offline. But the other thing that's currently really emerging is the interactive case. So what if there's actually a user or a gamer in the loop who wants to track movement and pick up things in a game or in a virtual reality environment, for example, now, because that's really a hot area that comes up.
So virtual reality, like in the military training and all that stuff?
Yeah, exactly. That's also what we are focusing on. I mean, that's also one thing of a startup, is that we have to analyze multiple markets and see actually where is the need for technology, where are people prepared to pay, what is the business model. And one thing we noticed actually is that this kind of military training or simulation of different things, this is a subgroup of the gaming. It's called serious games, because these are games that are not only for entertainment but for, as I said, education, simulation. And the first project that we're actually working on is a serious game that should allow people to, stroke patients, to do rehabilitation at home.
So how did you end up with GLEECHI? Like, what was your motivation, inspiration for starting or being an entrepreneur?
After these 4 years that I was at KTH as a postdoc, I was participating in an EU project for 4 years, and I thought, okay, now I want to see something else. I have seen research and I wanted to see industry, and that's why at that point I actually wanted to have something more stable. So I applied to Tobii. Tobii is like the
eye tracking.
Yeah, they're here a Stockholm-based company, but they're, I think, the market leader in eye tracking technologies, with a lot of awesome products, different things. And I was working there for 3 years as an algorithm developer, so in like the computer vision group. But during this time, we always had, so my colleague Dan Song, who is also co-founder of GLEECHI, and me, we worked together. We had this concept of virtual grasp at the side.
Okay.
So we did that like evenings talking about it, or weekends thinking about it, and then I think 2014, I felt this is actually working out well, but if nobody really puts full-time effort on it, then it will be too slow. So I decided, okay, I quit my job at Tobii and become more a risk taker and try to start this this company. I mean, I wouldn't describe myself as a typical entrepreneur because I'm more like it comes more from the technical motivation. What I wanted to do, that I wanted to do something that where I can like fulfill these pieces of development, bring together knowledge of robotics, and also I always like gaming, so come back
Most of
to
us
that,
do
yeah.
like gaming.
So that's how I actually ended up here.
So initially you started with Dan. So Dan is the other co-founder,
Yes.
and she is like a PhD degree in biomedical engineering from University of Southern California.
Yes.
And then you have a CEO Jacob Johansson, and he is more on from the business and product development.
Exactly.
So like, how did you meet him?
I mean, when we started the company, it was, or when we started this project, it was, as you said, it was Dan and me, and we have very similar background as researchers. And I mean, from the robotics part of view, there are different. I mean, she is more in biomedical engineering and neuroscience, while I'm more in computer vision and robotics. And we were both working on projects that had to do with robot grasping. So we were the developers, somehow researchers behind this technology. But when mainly I started to put my full effort, full time into this project, which was called Virtual Grasp at that time, I noticed that I'm a developer. I want to hack something, I want to program something, but I'm not the one to like talk to customers, pitch on stage, and so on. So, and that was, I mean, of course it made fun to learn that, but then it's always like this, you should
do what you're best at.
Yeah, you should do what you're best at. And I think there was someone, I don't know who it was, but from KTH Innovation who said, I mean, you don't want to make good entrepreneurs out of good developers, because you can't combine all of this in one person. And I mean, if you could, then you wouldn't need a team, right? You could do one thing in person. So what we needed 1 year ago most to in the best way complement our team was actually a business person. So we searched for a entrepreneur, business professional, and luckily we found Jakob, who was before working at MTG here in Stockholm, so in TV broadcasting, and so we took him into the team, and that was a very good decision, because I mean, after taking him in, really things started to take off. We had like our first prototype, first demo after a while, put it on a web page, got the first project customers. We were selected as a startup of the year this year by Veckans Affärer, so a Swedish newspaper, and now we are attracting more and more potential clients. But since our team is still so small, we are currently also recruiting tech people to support us, actually, because we want to satisfy more customers.
So what were the challenges that you faced while setting up the company?
I mean, there are a lot of challenges. I mean, the first one clearly was to find a perfect complement for our small team. And I think, as I said, that we found in Jakob. But that doesn't mean that it ends. To complement the team with people that are actually somehow, that should be better than you at what they're doing, so that you actually bring more knowledge into the team. I think that's still a challenge that we are also currently, since we are currently recruiting. again being very aware of, because it's very difficult to recruit good people when you are a small startup that doesn't have really a lot of funding yet, and where people need to be more risk-taking. Another challenge is probably to actually find the place, the market where you want to focus on. Because I think it's often that way, also we are working, we started, we had all these kind of ideas, where could we apply this technology? From robotics to gaming to stroke rehabilitation, but these are also different fields, so to decide actually and analyze where is the most efficient way, not only to do a difference but also to earn money, to keep the company actually flying and growing, because what we are currently funded by is mainly grant money, but you need to have customers, paying customers, to actually make this sustainable startup. I think for me personally, mostly the challenge is that, as I said, I'm a developer. I want to develop things, I want to program things, but as an entrepreneur, you are taught to follow this, for example, this kind of lean startup strategy. So first, do some small tests, some MVP, do some small thing first, find actually what your customers' need is. Because if you first start hacking and developing something for, I don't know, a year or so, and then you want to sell it, but you forgot to actually ask someone if somebody is there to buy it, then you made a big mistake. But that's actually my personal challenge, because I always want to develop, and I think now I'm back to that, and now also Jakob takes a lot of this on him, to actually talk to customers and find the business model. But that's mainly the challenge for myself, to keep myself a little bit away from programming.
Okay. So initially, how did you fund your company and all the stuffs?
Funding?
Yeah.
As I said, in the beginning, it started with this startup workshop that we participated in, because both Dan and me we were not so really convinced about there's some kind of commercialization potential in the robotics research that we did. After that startup workshop, we got some more attention, and that also ended up that KTH Innovation contacted us and asked us if we want to participate in some program like microfunding. You can apply for some funding, so they have quite nice programs for students or researchers at KTH. When you just want to try out a business idea, you can go to them and ask them, and get in contact with a business coach, and that one will then support you in some ways. Find some small funding, mainly for verification. So maybe if you want to go to a conference, to talk to some people, say, I have this idea, do you think you would you be interested in this product? And some people say yes, some people say no. But then also we got small microfunding to have a consultant working for us in a more professional way, because, as I said, I'm not so comfortable in going to somewhere and really pitching the idea. I had to learn that myself. So it was good that we had a professional consultant doing that. And then when you get this kind of feedback, and also KTH Innovation noticed there might be something behind it that is worth supporting more, so then we applied to a Vinnova program. So Vinnova is like the Swedish governmental agency for research. And we got then last year, that was actually before everything started, we got accepted as a grant for up to 2 million crowns for 2 years, and that's still what we are currently paying ourselves from. But it's still not really product development, it's still more on this kind of lean startup idea to actually go to conferences, figure out who could be the clients, what could be the business model, and making small test probes, sending to game studios, to VR companies, to health tech companies, and see if they are interested in this and what they maybe have for feedback. But also to analyze who maybe are your competitors and where could you fit in the market. Is this something that will make money? Because that's then something that investors are mostly interested in. In the future, I guess we will not come around to take in investments if we really want to scale this up and be faster than competitors. And then you have to have a good business model. And that's where we, I think, currently are. So we're still funded by Vinnova. Then we got some money from Almi through this Startup of the Year award. And now we get our first paying customer in. And then we, I think, are looking into investments maybe next year or so.
And in all these years, what has been your high point and the low point?
High point. I think my high point was actually when we finally founded the company, because then you notice, okay, this now becomes something really serious, but also something fun. And then you have these high points when you really get some positive feedback, appreciation, which currently always have been like a bit competitions. But then also I believe one of the high points this year was that we actually could formulate a contract with a big customer, first paying customer, that will pay us for what we have developed. And that's quite a good feeling, because that also verifies that, the trust that other people put into you, like for example Sting or things that support us here where we are currently sitting in the incubator, support us with business coaches. I think that the worst point was probably when I had to fire a person. Yeah, because we had a consultant earlier, and that was not such a nice story. So it was for me difficult to actually, fire someone. And when you get this responsibility to actually employ someone, at Tobii I have been in recruitment meetings, have looked at in employing, maybe helped in employing new people, but I never threw someone out. And that's quite, it's an experience that you learn from, but it doesn't feel so good. Yeah.
Okay. So it was nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you too.
Your story was very good.
Huh?
Okay, thank you for the interview.